it's Erica. Welcome back to Maniacal Reader. Today I'm doing my August wrap-up. I read 10 books this month, so I had an awesome reading month, but it was sort of like book overload. But let's get started. The first book I want to show you is Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Saban Vivian. This is the first book in a YA contemporary trilogy. It follows these three girls named Lilia, Kat, and Mary. These three girls don't know each other, but they come together in a plan for revenge to get back at the people that have hurt them. A boy from the past, an almost boyfriend, and a mean girl at school. I really like the friendship that's established between these three girls in the book, and I thought that their plans for revenge were really good. First of all, we have this mean girl named Rennie, who is mean to nearly everyone in the book. Then we have a guy named Alex, whom Kat hooked up with over the summer, but he's changed his mind about Kat when the school year starts. And then there's Mary, who wants to get back at a boy from the past that hurt her in a really big way. I like their plans for revenge and all of the friendships that are established in this book, but I thought that the plan for Reeve, who is the boy that hurt Mary, went a little too far in this book, but I won't spoil you on that since it's best to go into this book blind and find out everything for yourself. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a good first book to a trilogy. The next book I read was Fire with Fire by Jenny Han and Saban Vivian. This is the sequel to Burn for Burn. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because it was amazing. Things are kicked up a notch in a really big way in this book. Relationships are tested and new relationships form in this book. There are also so many twists and turns that I couldn't keep my eyes off this book. It was really exciting. In the middle of reading Fire with Fire, I also had a live show where I discussed the Anna and the French Kiss trilogy with a blogger friend of mine. I'll put a link to my live show down below in case you guys missed it and want to watch it. So of course the next book I read was Anna and the French Kiss. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I also have a spoiler-free review of this book, so I'll also put a link to that review down below. Basically in this book, we follow a girl named Anna, whose father has decided for her to become more cultured, so he decides to send her to France for a semester in school. He sends her to the School of America in Paris. It's an American school, but it's located in France. I loved the way this author described the settings of Paris. It really made me feel like I was actually there experiencing France along with Anna. I also like the friends that she meets She also meets this guy named Etienne Sinclair, whom she has a relationship with. Their relationship is tested and there are a lot of twists and turns in this book that affect her friendships. But if you want to hear more about this book, I'll put a link to my spoiler-free review down below. The next book I read was Lola and the Boy Next Door. This is the second book in the Anna and the French Kiss trilogy. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I enjoyed it the most out of all 3 of the books. This book follows a girl named Lola. She has 2 dads. She lives in San Francisco, and she's always had a good friendship with a boy named Cricket, but in her childhood, Cricket moved away a few times in her childhood, so their friendship has always been off and on. But Cricket has always loved Lola, and in this book, their friendship turns into something more. This book was totally awesome. I loved how their romance developed so slowly, and there are such sweet moments in this book. I loved it a lot. Next up, I read Isla and the Happily Ever After, the final book in the Anna and the French Kiss trilogy. This book follows a girl named Isla Martin and her romance with a guy named Josh. Josh is a good friend of Etienne Sinclair, whom we met in Anna and the French Kiss. Josh is an artist, and he has always known where he's going. Isla Martin has no clue of what she wants to do in the future. These 2 characters are attracted to each other, and they hit it off. There is a lot of misconception in their romance in this book, but he gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I loved Josh as a character. He's one of my ultimate favorite guys. He's a determined character who has an idea of the future and he likes to plan things. But he also has a bad boy streak, which I enjoyed. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Even though I enjoyed this book is the least that I enjoyed out of the 3. After reading Anna and the French Kiss and finishing up Fire with Fire, I picked up Ashes to Ashes, the final book in the Burn for Burn trilogy. There was a cliffhanger at the end of the last book, and one of the characters in this book starts to really stir up trouble for the other 2 girls, as well as some of the other relationships in this book. I did enjoy this book, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Even though I did enjoy it, this book disappointed me in some aspects. I won't go into too much detail since this is the final book in the trilogy, but I will put my Goodreads review down below in case you guys want to see what I was disappointed about in this book. I also know that I had Ugly Love on my TBR for this month, but I read that book many months ago, back in March or April, and as time goes by, my desire to reread that book kind of wanes, so my video review for Ugly Love is not happening anytime soon. But it's one of my all-time favorite Colleen Hoover books. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars the first time I read it, and if I feel like getting back into Colleen Hoover, I'll probably read that book first. But since I didn't want to read Colleen Hoover, I picked up After by Anna Todd instead. This is a new adult romance book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars because I really didn't enjoy it that much. This book follows a girl named Tessa. Tessa is a good girl who has always had good friends, gets awesome grades, and has a loyal boyfriend back home. But that all changes when she goes to college, and she runs into Hardin. Hardin is a popular guy, but he is also a bad boy on campus. Hardin doesn't treat Tessa very well. She hates him at the beginning, but she finds herself attracted to him somehow, and she can't seem to stay away from him. Hardin is hiding a secret, and if he reveals this secret, his romance with Tessa could come crumbling down. I loved Hardin and Tessa's relationship in the beginning of the book, but once I got to page 300 and beyond, Hardin became too controlling and possessive, and he didn't really redeem himself for the times that he was actually nice to Tessa. I know that some readers also think that Hardin is an abusive character. I did enjoy some of the supporting characters like Landon, who is Tessa's best friend, and Hardin's parents, but these 3 characters didn't really play a big role in the story, and since I grew not to like Hardin and Tessa's romance, I decided not to continue on with the series. This is one of the worst new adult books that I've read, and I definitely won't be picking up this book again. The next book I read was The Coincidence of Callie and Caden by Jessica Swarenson. This is a new adult romance series that I've been wanting to read forever, and since After by Anna Todd was such a disappointment, I thought I would pick up another new adult series that I actually would know that I like. This book follows the romance of Callie and Caden. Callie and Caden used to go to the same high school, but Caden never noticed her, since Callie was always this different girl, this class weirdo, that always stood out, but no one really wanted to pay attention to her. That all changes when Callie saves Caden from a beating from his father. Caden has an abusive father, but Callie is a character with her own problems. The book starts out 4 months later, when Callie realizes that she and Caden go to the same college, and Caden wants to thank her for saving his life. Callie isn't really sure about Caden, so she's afraid to get close to him. But not only is she afraid to get close to him, she's afraid to get close to anyone, except her best friend Zeth. Something happened to Callie in her past, which readers come to discover. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The romance that develops between Callie and Caden is so genuine. I loved all of the good moments in this book. It's definitely a series that I think I'm really going to enjoy. Naturally, the next book I read was The Redemption of Callie and Caden. This is the sequel to The Coincidence of Callie and Caden. This book follows more of Callie and Caden's story. I won't go into too much detail since this is a sequel and I don't want to spoil you, but I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. There was a cliffhanger at the end of the last book, and things really develop between Callie and Caden, and they grow so much as characters in this second book. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of dark moments, but there were so many sweet moments between them as well. Since I still have to wait for the Coincidence series to come in, I decided to pick up Beautiful Lies by Jessica Warman. This is a YA contemporary mystery book and it's a standalone. This book follows 2 identical twin sisters named Rachel and Alice. These twin sisters are different from other twins. They're tied by a psychic bond. When one twin is physically injured, the wound appears on the other twin's body as well. Rachel and Alice have been close their whole lives, but when one twin goes missing, as the other twin digs deeply in her disappearance, she learns that her twin has been hiding some secrets from her, and these secrets could threaten to sever their bond as sisters and change their lives forever. I did enjoy this book since there were a lot of twists and turns, but the beginning of the book started off slow, so it took some time for me to get into. I did enjoy the twists and turns, but I didn't really connect with any of the characters, even though I did enjoy the mystery, so that's why I only gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. But I didn't really enjoy any of the characters. I didn't really connect with any of them. Those are all of the books that I read in August. Like I said, it was an awesome reading month for me, even though a couple of books disappointed me. And I mostly did enjoy all of the books that I read. Comment down below and tell me, what books did you read this month? Did you have a good reading month? Did you have an okay reading month? Or did you have an awesome reading month, like me? That's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!